It was an ordinary evening, nothing different from many others. The house was submerged in dim light, with the only source of brightness being the flickering screen of the TV. My son, now an adult, sat across from me, absorbed in the film. I, feeling a bit tired after a long day, sat down next to him. At some point, almost without thinking, I suggested, half jokingly, that we watch the movie under one blanket, like we used to when he was little. Why did I say that? I was raised in a family where such things were completely unacceptable. We always adhered to strict moral standards, and I had always believed that respect for traditions was of utmost importance. But in that moment, something inside me tightened. Why did that word, blanket, come out just then? Why did my hands suddenly tremble, and my heart beat faster? Was it just exhaustion, or was it something deeper? For the first time, I allowed myself to ask, am I happy with my life? Am I faithful not just to my husband, but to myself? That evening, I realized I had forgotten what it meant to live for myself. My life had become gray, monotonous, and I hadn't even noticed. I had grown accustomed to playing my roles, wife, mother, housekeeper, but where was I? Where was the girl who once dared to dream, who sought new horizons? Why did my thoughts suddenly become so contradictory? Why did I feel this emptiness so sharply? I felt questions rising inside me, questions I didn't want to answer. And perhaps the most dangerous questions are the ones you don't want to know the truth to. What if this isn't a coincidence? What if this is the beginning of something bigger? What if these small, unnoticed steps will lead me somewhere I can't stop? After that evening, something inside me changed. A feeling of unease settled deep within, but along with it came something else, something thrilling, something I couldn't quite name. I started noticing things that had once escaped me. My husband. He was the same as always. Calm, reserved, following his usual routine. Conversations about daily matters, occasional glances that no longer carried the warmth they once did. We still lived together, but it felt like we existed in separate worlds. Sometimes I found myself waiting for something from him, a word, a gesture, a sign, but nothing ever came. And then he appeared. It was completely accidental, entirely unexpected. Just a casual meeting, formal, insignificant. But his eyes. He looked at me differently. Not the way people who have known you for years do. There was a spark in his gaze, a kind of interest. At first, I told myself it was just politeness. A pleasant conversation, nothing more. But as time passed, our talks grew longer, our messages became more personal. He laughed at my jokes in a way no one had in a long time. He noticed the little things, a new dress, a change in my voice, the shadow of exhaustion in my eyes. I kept telling myself that nothing was happening. But deep inside, I knew, it was. That rainy evening, everything became inevitable. I hadn't planned it, hadn't thought I would ever reach that moment. But when I stepped into that hotel room, when the door quietly closed behind me, I knew, there was no turning back. I stood by the window, looking at the blurred city lights, as he moved closer. My heart pounded so loudly, I was sure the whole world could hear it. I couldn't bring myself to step away. With trembling fingers, I reached for the buttons of his shirt, and he just watched. And in that moment, I realized, I was no longer the woman I used to be. I'll take a short pause. Write in the comments where you're listening from. Have you ever experienced something similar? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next part. Now, I continue. The next morning, I stood before the mirror, trying to figure out who this woman was looking back at me. It was me, but different. The same eyes, but inside. I felt as though I had crossed a line. I couldn't go back. Two feelings fought inside me, exhilaration and terror. Exhilaration from feeling alive again, from breaking free from the routine, from wanting to live, to feel, to be myself again. But along with that was terror. Terror that, even if no one else ever knew, I would never forget what had happened. It would stay with me, and that shadow would follow me forever. I tried to justify it, it was just one moment, nothing more. But deep inside, I knew I couldn't pretend. The days went on, and I tried to return to my normal life. I looked at my husband, trying to see in him the person I once dreamed of a future with. But something was wrong. We talked, but we didn't hear each other. I tried to use memories to revive our love, but those memories didn't have that spark. I could leave, I could confess, but I didn't know how. And that's when life decided to set everything right. One random phrase, overheard in a cafe, was the beginning of the end. I was sitting with a friend over coffee when I heard her, unknowingly, say something familiar. Her words were full of unspoken meaning, but I understood everything. At home, I tried to find an explanation, to push my thoughts aside, but I couldn't. One message, one I shouldn't have seen, led to another twist. It was from him. Lines full of desire and promises, hidden behind innocent words. But what I saw left no doubts. And then, a phone call, after which everything became clear. My husband wasn't who I thought he was. And now, I was just a part of someone else's game. At the moment when I decided it was time to confess, the truth revealed itself. But it wasn't what I expected. The truth turned out to be far more cruel than I could have ever imagined. Everything I thought I knew about my life turned out to be a lie. And now I had to make a choice, to continue living in deception or face reality. What do you think about this story? Have you had any similar experiences in your life? Your thoughts are very important to me, and I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Write in the comments, I'm really interested to know your opinion. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on new exciting stories. Wishing you a great day. Write a phrase related to the topic so I know you listened until the end.